dioxide, that's what we're talking about normally, has been demonized because it supposedly causes catastrophic global warming. But I'll show you in a minute that the observations show that all the computer models that had predicted huge warming from CO2 they could hardly be more wrong. It's just unbelievable how wrong they are. Science, and this is the cover of his most recent book, Our Choice to Save the Planet. You know, the current climate crisis, nobody can figure out what the crisis is, but he seems to think there is one. And this is a picture that Al says comes from a NASA photo. Well, I actually, some of the NASA astronauts are my personal friends, and so they helped me to find the original, and here's the original. This is a NASA photo. And you can tell it's the same photo Al used, but there's some obvious differences. For example, this real photo, the Earth is covered with clouds. There are clouds everywhere you look, practically. If you step back, here's Al's photo. So he's erased the clouds as much as he can. You wouldn't want people getting the idea that maybe clouds have something to do with the temperature of the Earth. You know, it's all that demon CO2. So, okay, so that's perhaps a minor thing. You can tell it's the same picture by simply comparing the cloud patterns. Are identical. It's exactly the same picture. But especially around the tropics, there are no clouds. And in fact, this equatorial region is always covered with clouds. You know, here it is down here. You know, this is the outer cover of the book, and you can see there's a fold. It folds, and there's the binding of the book here. So you can open this cover and turn it over, and you can see the inner cover where he shows you what will happen if we don't listen to him. So here's what will happen. So here's the inner cover. He says, when you unfold the cover, the image you see in the Earth, as we know it today, with its deep blue oceans, rich soil, green forests, that's the cover. This side reveals that what will happen, you know, if you don't listen to Al, basically. He just goes on and on. He doesn't know when to shut up. So I have the same problem. But there's several problems with this from a physicist's point of view, and that's where I come from. First of all, there are hurricanes all over the place, including this one off of North Carolina's coast. It's got one problem: it's rotating the wrong way. You know. All right. Well, this is a hurricane rotating the right way off of Baja California. You know. You know, the rotations of hurricanes are driven by the rotation of the Earth. So, you know, there's no way it could rotate this way. It doesn't agree with even the most basic science, you know, and this is the level of the discussion that we're trying to face. That it's just nonsense, you know. It makes good press, people get frightened, you know, we're going to fry, all of this crap, but it has nothing to do with science. The whole carbon dioxide constant, will that stop climate changing? And the answer is absolutely not. The climate always changes. It has never been stable. You know, as long as we've been able to infer records, the climate changes, and it's not going to stop changing if we stop changing CO2. Long-range picture of the so-called stable climate of the Earth. You see this is temperature going up and down, and this is the last 800,000 years. This is the last 5 million years. And the immediate thing you see is the climate is never stable. There has never been a history never been a period in the history of the Earth where the climate is stable. We're recently in an ice age, so we just came out of an ice age 20,000 years ago. Here we are today, zero to the past. So this is the Holocene. But there was a long 100,000-year ice age, and there was a previous warm period like now. It was actually warmer, the previous one. And there have been other warm periods in the past, and this has been going on for a long time. People are still debating why this is happening. You know, if you go back 20, 30 billion years ago, this is not the same picture. It's much more stable. So here is CO2 levels. I mentioned it's about 400 parts per million now, so we're about there to 2014. And supposedly this was to cause enormous warming, but the blue here is temperature, and in fact, you know, there was a cooling period up until almost 1980, then there was warming till about the year 2000, and then it's been flat or slightly cooling again since then. So The actual observed temperatures don't look anything at all like CO2 levels. By the way, this oscillation up and down is winter and summer. When it's summer in the northern hemisphere where most of the land is, all the plants start to grow, the forest. They suck out CO2, lower the CO2 over the whole world. And so you have a summertime of low CO2, and winter comes, it's dark up there, nothing grows, the CO2 recovers a little bit. Cambrian era, when we started getting really good fossils, hard shell fossils, 550 million years ago, Ordovician, Silurian, the geological eras, and this is CO2. The main point to notice here is the scale. The scale is in thousands of parts per million. It's not in hundreds of parts per million. So for most of the Earth's history, CO2 levels have not been measured in 400 parts per million or 300. They've been measured in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, you know. And the Earth was fine. It was full of life, dinosaurs, goodness knows what. There were even some of our ancestors back then.